You have her ID?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cell phone. No, I don't want to give it to you. Why do I have to?
Because my attorney said not to.
Why do I have to give it to you? This is evidence. She's under arrest. I have to go with. I have to go. I have to go. You don't have to go with. Let me help you out. No, I have to stay. Please don't do this. Don't stay. You need to grab the bags. Take the bags. Yeah. And you need to wait outside. Okay.
My husband's almost 80 years old. He can't
Yeah,
come
I
with
can.
me.
Please, can I help? No, you can't join me there. Oh, don't do this, please.
Please.
Oh,
Someone's
God.
got to help him get home. This is terrible. You can't do this. This is insane.
Is that okay with you?
Please, you don't have that with handcuffs on. She's not going anywhere. Please, please.
You have anything in your pocket?
No, no.
Do you have anything of value in you?
No,
Does she have a necklace on? You
Wanna go?
can take
My-
the necklace.
I'll take
Yeah, take it off. Yeah.
And the earrings.
And the earrings.
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record. Okay, how is everybody? Hello, Iowa Travel Nurse. Hello, Jane. Hello, Jackie St. Germain. Thanks for the shout out from your channel. I appreciated it. Hi, Jennifer Harmon. Hello, Doris. Wow, a terrible day for Donna in court. We had Jeffrey LaCasse testified. Pretty terrible testimony for Donna from Jeffrey LaCasse. Even worse for Wendi, but we'll see what happens after this trial, if Wendy's going to get indicted or not, or if she's going to just walk away. Maybe Donna's the last person, conspirator, to be tried in this case or even indicted. And Wendi and Harvey will walk away unindicted co-conspirators in this case. We don't know. But after Jeffrey LaCasse testified, then we had Catherine McManaway testified in her prison outfit. And that was even worse. She was an even better witness than she was last trial. And they did nothing with her on cross. We'll get to that. I'm going to have to do a whole episode on her testimony. Maybe this weekend, maybe Sunday. I don't know. But it was terrible for Donna. This is the woman that Donna said set her up, set her family up. And she's going to have Charlie testify to this. And here she is on cross-examination. I know that there hasn't been a lot of foundation laid for it. But what are they going to do? Recall her to the stand and take her as their own witness after she testifies for the prosecution? Maybe. I don't know. But they didn't make much headway with her today. It was a terrible cross-examination. And Jackie Fulford's not a terrible cross-examiner. Certainly better than Rashbaum, but she didn't score many points. And then we ended the day with Chris Corbett reading off emails, etc., and communications. So I'm going to start with Jeffrey LaCasse. I'm going to go back to his police interview to just give you a little bit of flavor. It's so powerful. I really encourage you to watch the whole thing yourself. But just to give you a little sense of what he saw being Wendi Adelson's boyfriend and then ex-boyfriend, who was broken up with conveniently a week before the murder. And every time that he went on a trip, or the 2 times he went on a trip, the first time was when the murder of Dan Markel was supposed to happen, but didn't, because he was with his kids. And the second time where it did happen, Jeffrey LaCasse, instead of keeping his plans, he was supposed to go on a trip that would take him right by the scene of the crime, making him the numero uno suspect. We know that the killers and the getaway driver rented a car each time that could resemble Jeffrey LaCasse's car. And we knew from yesterday's testimony that Robert Adelson said that Wendi Adelson, very out of character for her, sent her a picture of herself and Jeffrey LaCasse and said, "This is my new boyfriend. Don't tell mom and dad." They don't know. They did know. They had met him on 6 or 7 occasions, according to Jeffrey LaCasse. I mean, some of them were quick, but they definitely knew who he was. Why was Wendi sending Rob Adelson? Sorry, it's a crazy scene. Police car outside my window. Why was she sending Rob Adelson a text with Jeffrey LaCasse, a picture of Jeffrey LaCasse? Seems like she was trying to set up Robert Adelson so that when he talked to the police, he would mention, "Oh, Wendi had this boyfriend. Oh, she broke up with him. Maybe he was very jealous." That's what it seemed like to me. But here is the Jeffrey LaCasse interview. And here's what he says about how, I think this is one of the more curious things, talks about this date meaning something to him, meaning July 18th, the day of Dan Markel's murder. So if you're just tuning in, we're looking at Jeffrey LaCasse, testified today. He was Wendy's boyfriend up until a week before the murder of Dan Markel. He's a fellow professor. His area of interest, teaches social work. His area of interest is prescription drugs. And here he is talking about how July 18th, the day of the murder, meant something to him way before he knew, obviously, till after Dan Markel's murder, knew the meaning, the significance of that date. Take a listen.
It started to get really, really strange. And this is why I think I had a hard time getting across to Investigator Hale. So we have that fight. She goes to Portland for a weekend. She comes back. It's now June. In June, I was walking around saying to all my friends, I don't know what is going on. Something is going on. We had that very frank talk about that and decided to stay together. She said, it's one guy. He's gone. He literally moved out of the area, as you probably know. So Sac, yeah. So I said, okay. One thing about Wendi is this is where I worry about the crime. She's very easily influenced. She doesn't have much of a sense of self. When she's with Danny, she kind of became Danny's extension of Danny, attached herself to him. She didn't attach herself to Sac. He was into polyamory and having multiple partners. He's bisexual. So she started doing all this crazy stuff. Sac was encouraging her, from what she said, to have sex with lots of people, not just him. I worry about her. So I'm just seeing her, and doesn't want to be controlled, but she does want to be controlled. She into a lot of sex stuff and things where she wants to be told what to do. And one of the things I worry about is that somebody came up with this idea and she went along with it because she doesn't know how to say no. She hates confrontation, things like that. So in June, I was walking around saying to my friends, I don't know what's going on. It's just uncanny to think back on it now. So I don't know what's going on, but something's gonna happen. It feels like there's drum beats. It feels like we're moving towards something. It's really, really strange. I don't know what's going on. And one of the strange things that happened was we had a trip to California scheduled to see my parents the week that Danny was killed. And in early June, she rescheduled that trip. And I said, what's the problem with the trip? She says, well, I'm worried we'll get stuck in the airport and we won't be back on Friday. I have to pick up the kids from school.
Right. She's worried in June. She's not going to get back to pick up this kid. She had to be there. I mean, wouldn't it have been better to be on a trip? But the problem with the trip is that he had to be there to be the fall guy. She can't take that trip. And she also has to enrage him. And he also talks about, so the person she's talking about sleeping with is this guy, this bisexual, polyamorous, Daniel Sack. He's teaches at the University U of Mass. There he is. And he goes on to talk about her sleeping with him 45 minutes before she slept with Jeffrey LaCasse. She would come from his bed to her, to sleeping with him, Jeffrey LaCasse. So from Daniel Sack's bed, Jeffrey LaCasse. And he talks about her not covering up her infidelity very well, almost like she wanted him to break up with him in like a angry way so he could be a good fall guy. I mean, this was meticulously planned, this murder. And without the bump, they may never have actually gotten caught. I don't know. Donna certainly has made a lot of evidence against herself. So here's his testimony. This day meant something. He talks about a drum beat, everything leading towards this day. Goes on to talk about her psychopathic personality. We'll look at that in a second. But how she says, I don't know if I'm a sociopath, but none of this bothers me. Hurting people doesn't bother me. Concerning. I think it runs in the family. Okay, here's Jeffrey LaCasse taking the stand. He's a former Army. Look how he takes the oath. I thought this was interesting. Very upright, almost like he's saluting. Take a look.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes.
You may take your seat. You may inquire when you're ready, sir.
Sir, please introduce yourself and spell your name.
I'm Jeffrey LaCasse, pardon me, Jeffreylacasse.
How are you employed?
I'm an associate professor at Florida State University.
How long have you been at FSU?
Since 2013, so 11 years now, 12 years now.
Have you always lived here in Tallahassee?
I was here from 2000 to 2008 pursuing my doctorate, and I went to Arizona State for 5 years, and I came back in the fall of 2013 when all this happened.
Okay. And back in that time frame.
The sound is just going to be a little low. Sorry, guys. I hope I'm not blasting out your ears. Trying not to. Let me move my mic away a little bit. But I sped it up just a little bit, but it's very nervous. The water bottle, for those listening on podcasts, he picks up, puts down his water bottle about 1 billion times in this. He's got to stay hydrated. Very nervous through, particularly this testimony. He looked the most nervous, I thought, than any testimony before.
Did you have a relationship with Wendi Adelson?
I did.
When did that relationship begin?
We started dating in late September of 2013.
What was the nature of the relationship?
At first, it was very casual. We weren't exclusive. After Halloween, things started to accelerate. That's the fall of 2013. And then by late February, early March, we were an exclusive couple.
When did the relationship end?
It's a little tricky, but I would market it around July 14th, 2014.
Around the time of the homicide or shortly before?
Right before, yes.
During the time that you were dating Wendi Adelson, did you become aware of her divorce
I did.
and the litigation surrounding the divorce and subsequent to the divorce? Were you familiar with that as well?
Yes, it was a constant topic of conversation.
Were you aware that it was an unusually difficult or nasty divorce?
I was.
And during the time that you were dating her, were you aware that litigation was still pending during that time frame?
Yes.
Was there a specific item of litigation that was a common topic during the time you were dating Mrs. Adelson?
Well, as far as what she discussed, there were multiple. The relocation motion had just been denied a couple months before we started dating, so that was still very much on Wendy's mind. That came up a lot. then there were the custody issues with the kids, of course.
Okay. Did you know Dan Markel?
I met him briefly a couple of times.
Was that in the context of you being the new boyfriend and exchange of the kids? Kind of thing?
Exactly. Picking up the kids, swimming lessons one time, never spoke to him for more than 2 or 3 minutes.
The interaction that you did have with him, were those cordial?
It was polite and cordial.
Did you have any issues with him other than things that Wendi was telling you?
I sort of adopted the Adelson family narrative. I kind of believed what Wendi was telling me.
Yeah, that comes really across in his first interviews with the police. He's very down on Dan Markel. And then as he thinks about the whole situation and takes a ton of notes, it's very powerful, much more powerful than his testimony. I mean, when you listen to it all put together and he tells the whole story, it's impossible, I think, to walk away thinking Wendi had nothing to do with it. It's impossible. It's just not the way innocent people behave who don't know anything's going to happen. They don't rush, have to rush back to pick up their kids for no reason. Wendi has no problem having other people pick up her kids or take care of her kids, or if there's an emergency. She sounded like she had a pretty good support system. I think she even testified to that in Tallahassee.
Wendi and I also had mutual friends from when I was here before, and they had sort of adopted that narrative as well. So I didn't have a personal beef with Dan Markel, but I did believe sort of the Adelson family story about Dan Markel.
Which is that he was making it very difficult for Wendi. He was a difficult person.
Yes.
If you know, did Wendi Adelson want to relocate to South Florida?
Yes, she did, very badly.
And why did she want to relocate to South Florida?
She preferred to be down there with her family. She also hated Tallahassee. That's in my original, police statements. It was almost a daily topic of conversation how much she disliked Tallahassee. So it was both. She really disliked Tallahassee. She preferred to be in Miami. On our second date, she broke into tears talking about relocation and abruptly ended the date. I mean, it was still very visceral, very important to her.
All right, and that was shortly after the relocation had been denied. Is that
Yeah,
right?
that would have been last week of September, so a couple months after it was fresh then. Yeah.
Okay, and were you specifically familiar during that time with the litigation seeking to limit Donna Adelson's exposure to the kids, or to have her be supervised in presence of the kids, because Dan was alleging that she had made disparaging remarks about him to the children?
Yes, I was aware of that.
How did you become aware of that?
Oh, multiple ways. Wendi talking about it. And it's hard to remember which exact emails and motions I was forwarded, but definitely Wendy's talking about it for sure. And perhaps I was sent court materials.
Okay, were you also shown things in her presence?
Yes.
All right, and if you know, did Wendi take that particular filing seriously? Was she upset about that or worried about that?
Yes, every time there was a motion, they took it very seriously. And I reported to the police that it was disruptive on the relationship, because every time something was filed, dates would get canceled, Wendi would be in a mood, Wendi would be upset. So
when you say they took it seriously, who are you referencing?
the entire family, but Wendi was the person I was having contact with. But it was known to me that the whole family was upset.
Okay, and how do you deduce that it's a they and not just a Wendi? Is she in communication with the family? Is she relaying that to you? How do you know that?
For multiple.
Overruled, he may testify as to his personal knowledge. You're not to repeat, however, what anyone said out of court.
Sure. So conversations with Wendi, which were consistent, and also observing the family dynamic, which was, I described to police as a family without boundaries, that sort of not having just a shared family life that you're on.
Stayed as to.
All right, so in your observations, let's keep it specific to Donna, if you don't mind. Was Donna Adelson very involved in her daughter's life?
Yes, absolutely.
Was she very involved in her daughter's divorce litigation?
Yes.
And I say divorce, I know the divorce is already final. I'm referencing the subsequent litigation as well.
Yes.
During the time that you were in a relationship with Wendi, did you have the occasion to meet her family?
I did.
When was that?
I met Donna, we met multiple times, but Wendi had me come over to her house and had me have dinner with Donna in mid-November. So I sat down and had dinner with Donna. There's about 6 or 7 other occasions. that we met and or interacted. Me picking up Wendi to go on a date, and the parents would be in the living room. We went to a Hanukkah party together. We went to the circus together. Wendy's parents would use Wendy's van to transport the kids. So I would come pick Wendi up from the house to bring her to work because the parents needed the car. I met Charlie in March when I stayed with him. So that's some of the interactions.
All right. And when you met,
He also said he found it very odd, like I do, that Donna had to drive with Wendi everywhere. But then he said, once you know Wendi, she's such a wreck that he started worrying about her doing things alone. He also talks about her coming off of Lexapro very quickly, a heavy dose, and that her father was writing her prescriptions of Lexapro. It's an antidepressant. She was coming off of it very quickly, and that it makes a lot of sense now that he would chalk up her behavior, her whacked out behavior, to withdrawing from Lexapro too quickly. And that's his area of interest. He's written a lot about how to deal with depression and the other illnesses without medication and the harms of it. And it was like, he's like, you really need to get the liquid thing so you can come down slowly. And she was just rapidly coming off it. He said drinking a bottle and a half of wine and falling and bruising herself. You know, you can say, is this Wendi not dealing well with the idea of this high risk event happening, meaning the murder of Dan Markel upcoming? Could she not handle the pressure, or was she just, this is in April, she was starting to come off, this double dose of Lexapro that her father was writing her. So it makes you think that if Donna is offering, I know her father was still a working dentist, but is when Donna's offering prison snitches prescription drugs. Also, we heard the testimony. Oh, I forgot. I left her out. I left June Mchata out, who was also lost today, just like she was in Charlie Adelson's trial. It's almost like a passive aggressive thing that she does. She's never there when they call her to testify. They always have to put out the search, throw out the dogs to come find her. She said that Donna was taking painkillers. Now, she was with Charlie for a while. I think she knows the difference between painkillers and Xanax. So how long she was taking them, and were we just watching a tape of Donna? She could have been on both, on some kind of narcotics and on Xanax when she got arrested. Did she have a terrible detox in jail? I don't know. We'll never know. You have to be in the Adelson inner circle to know that.
Donna here in Tallahassee, was Harvey always there as well, or sometimes?
I don't believe Harvey was there. I don't believe Harvey was there that time, but he was there other times.
So did it appear to you that Donna was frequently in Tallahassee?
Donna was definitely frequently in Tallahassee between September and early May. After that, I'm not aware of her being in Tallahassee.
So just to finish my thought, was Donna expecting Harvey to write prescriptions for those prison snitches? That's my point. I got so much to talk about, but odd that she'd went in April just to drastically get off a medication that apparently was making her dizzy and all that. Was she using that so that she could act out and say, oh, I have a reason I'm acting out? Or was it a way to get Jeffrey LaCasse involved with her so he'd be very worried and attentive with her, that she was doing it in such a wacky way? He said he wrote tons and tons of emails about it, warning her and worried about her, the way she was coming off this drug.
She was in Tallahassee quickly once or twice after that, but in terms of extended trips, there's an awful lot of moms here for a while going on between September and late April, early May.
And when Donna was here in town staying with Wendi, what was the purpose of the visits, if you know?
I think multiple purposes. The children was what almost everything revolved around. So spending time with the kids would be the main purpose that I was aware of.
All right. And you said you met Charlie. Where did you meet him?
Wendi and I went to, sorry. Wendi and I went to alternative spring break in Immokalee, Florida for spring break 2014. After we were done with that field trip of sorts, we went to stay with Charlie at his house for one night. So I spent one evening with Charlie Adelson.
All right. And did you interact at all with Donna and or Harvey on that trip?
No, they didn't attend. We didn't go there.
Did you ever spend time with Donna Adelson in South Florida?
No.
All right, so the only times you met her were here in Tallahassee.
That's correct.
What were your interactions with Donna Adelson like?
Just a few that I recall. Sometimes they were really quick because I was just picking Wendi up. When we had dinner, we talked for maybe 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes, but it was pretty quick, and just getting to know the girl who I'm interested in, her mom. So it's just that kind of thing. She excused herself from the table after like maybe 10, 12 minutes, something like that. And
Was that a conversation where it was just the two of you seated at the table?
It was Wendi, myself, and Donna.
Okay.
Just a getting to know you type thing. Just
Okay.
ended fairly quickly.
What about Catherine Magbanua? Did you ever have an occasion to meet her?
I did. She was at the dinner at Yardbird that myself, Wendi Adelson.
What a horrible thing to have to be a witness. I mean, I think back to like relationships, I mean, this is like obviously a terrible relationship between Jeffrey LaCasse and Wendi. To have all these strangers in your business and have to testify. What a horror situation. And be, have the whole world judge you and criticize you and what you wear and how you testify and blah, blah, blah. Although Jeffrey LaCasse is pretty much, there's a lot of people who hate him though and think that he should have done more when Wendi told them that her brother had hired a hitman the year before. But who thinks a family does something like this? I mean, a rational person would think the family has too much to lose to act in such a risky, crazy way, right? I mean, just to keep in line with the idea that Robert Adelson said in his deposition that his mother is the most self-interested person, that she wouldn't want to risk her multi-million-dollar lifestyle to go to prison or jail for someone like Dan Markel that she hated. But apparently winning was more important.
Wendi Adelson and Katie and Charlie were at. Yeah.
All right. And that was the night that you spent in South Florida where you met Charlie.
Correct.
Was that the only time you ever met Charlie?
Only time I ever met Charlie.
And do you know the date of that visit?
I believe that's March 11th, 2014.
And how was Catherine Magbanua related to the Adelson family?
She was Charlie's new girlfriend at that dinner, is how I knew her.
Was it your impression or knowledge that this was the first meeting between Wendi Adelson and Catherine Magbanua?
That was my impression. There was a lot of getting to know you talk type stuff.
All right. At the dinner table, did the subject of Dan Markel come up?
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of specifics, but I think it came up kind of briefly. There was a lot of talk about Wendy's book. I remember that part.
And at the dinner table, did Catherine Magbanua's ex come up at all?
Yes.
Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, that stood out because Katie mentioned that she had her children's father was always getting in trouble with the police and had a violent criminal record. I'm paraphrasing, but it sounded like not parking tickets. It sounded pretty bad, and it stuck in my memory for that reason.
What happened after dinner?
We went back to Charlie's house on Well Harbor.
Right. And did Catherine Magbanua go back to Charlie's house as well?
No.
Right. So at that time, it would be just the three of you, Wendi, and Charlie.
And Charlie's then roommate, Dr. Dromo bit.
Okay. And can you describe the residence there?
Yeah, I thought it was a nice house. Had a hot tub, had a pool.
Okay. Did you get in the hot tub that night?
We did get in the hot tub for a while.
Who all was in the hot tub?
Myself, Charlie, Wendi, and Dr. Obed at some points. And people were in and out, but those were the four that were in the hot tub.
And during that time, did Charlie Adelson make some comments against Dan Markel?
Yes, he didn't like Danny. That might be understating it. Yeah.
Is that the most you can remember? Was the gist was that he didn't like him?
I'm not downloading that exact quote at this moment. I remember he was fired up. It wasn't just like, I don't like Danny. It was maybe a overprotective brother anger sort of vibe to it.
Okay. And did he make some other comment about wrong side of the tracks or
Yeah,
something?
yeah, yeah. He's kind of,
Okay, so they're going to try to say that she's leading. I don't know. What is this? What happened here? Did he fall off the chair? What the heck was that? I watched that a couple times. It's like, what is going on there? Harvey in the front. He's very, very thin. Now he's not anymore. I wonder what happened. Someone was like, you must eat, Harvey, you must eat. Very long sidebar. Here we are.
Is overruled. You may continue with your line of inquiry, Ms. Kaplan.
Sir, do you remember the statement that I was referencing?
yes, I do. There was a couple of statements in the hot tub.
Okay.
One was about the fact that Charlie knew people on both sides of the tracks. They hung out with professionals, dentists, doctors, etc. But he also knew, was familiar, had social contacts that were in the criminal element. And he's kind of bragging, and he kind of specifically mentioned Cuban neighborhoods as a place where you would find that criminal element.
I want to ask you about an incident.
I mean, he goes on to say that Charlie, in his police interview about how he went on sex tourism trips to have relations with children or underage girls, whatever you want to call it, South America. He also talks about Charlie basically, how do I say that? Hurting someone, hurting a girlfriend who embarrassed him sexually. It's disturbing. You will never feel sorry for Charlie getting convicted after those stories. From Jeffrey LaCasse.
Involving, I think the context is assessing Wendy's oldest child for gifted placement. Do you
Yes.
know where I'm going with that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, can you tell the jury, please?
Wendy was looking to get her older son tested to see if he was gifted to get him placed in school. This is spring 2014. And I was trying to put her in touch with some people that could do that. And we were talking about that, and she asked me when children develop autobiographical memory.
Is your training or profession such that you have some knowledge that you could offer on that topic?
So they object to this over and over again. I think eventually they get it thrown out. But for us, it's not thrown out. It's in our memory. And what it means is Wendi, and as I've been saying, was telling herself, and her mother was telling her, that her children wouldn't remember their father and therefore wouldn't miss him, would have no memories of him. So they go over, I'm not offering for the truth. Of the matter. So I think actually, is it thrown out?
What is your background?
I'm a professor of social work. I teach mental health courses.
Okay, so Wendi asks you what?
She asked me when kids develop memory. At what age will kids start to remember what happened to them when they were a kid?
And what was your answer?
I think I said 5 or 6.
Overruled, Mr. Zalman, sit down. You may testify concerning not the truth of the matter asserted, but
Oh, it's not for the truth of the matter asserted. So they can't use it. And it doesn't fare well for it. I don't know. Could it be used against Wendi? I don't know. If Wendi were on trial, could it be used? I have to go over hearsay because I don't really understand. Obviously, it's complicated. It's a lot more complicated than I thought.
how this affected the state of mind. Not disclosed to the defense. Please approach.
Okay, so they object to it again. He pushes again with this. I think it's eventually thrown out, but
Step outside the court.
because it was, this is why it's thrown out. Sorry, I was sorry, kiddies, in 1993. It's thrown out because it's a discovery violation. The defense weren't given this information and they didn't depose him. And he wasn't deposed by Rashbaum. So he didn't say, if they deposed him, I'm not sure if they did depose him, this defense team, but Rashbaum didn't, and they had no knowledge that he was going to say this, so they couldn't prepare their defense for this line of questioning. That's why it was thrown out. So then we're on a short break. Let me move through this. And they say, I'm sorry. They thought they could find it. They took a break to find it in a deposition and it didn't exist. So then the prosecution had to concede that it had to be stricken.
We're talking about.
So it was a discovery violation.
March of 14, somewhere in there. Did Wendi Adelson, actually strike that. I'm gonna move on to the coffee shop meeting. Familiar with that?
The June 4th coffee shop?
Yes, sir. June 4th, 2014. Did you have plans prior to that meeting to travel with Wendi Adelson over the time frame in which Dan Markel was ultimately killed?
Yeah, that's right. And on June 4th, I had planned to see Wendi and the kids at her house that night. Middle of the day, she called me to sort of an impromptu meeting at Red Eye over on Thomasville. And she abruptly canceled our trip for reasons that didn't make much sense.
When was the trip scheduled to happen?
The 11th to the 17th.
All right.
You're right, Karen. It could have been a mistrial. They could have asked for a mistrial there. But I don't think any judge, I mean, you'd have to be in some really defense-friendly state to get that, to say that the jury had been so prejudiced by that statement. And it's not a trial. It's a statement about Wendi, not about Donna. So it'd be hard. If it were a statement about Donna, maybe.
So you
It's
would
a
have
long
returned
shot.
home actually the day before the murder
Correct.
occurred. Okay. And did she express concern about not being home in time to pick up the children?
Yeah, the reason she canceled the trip was I'm worried we're going to get strict.
Staying in the shares and exceptions, capital.
Goes to motive, Judge. I
Overall.
don't care if they go on a trip or not. All right, sir. So the reason for not going on the trip?
The reason for not going on the trip was tied up on a couple of things. First of all the stuff going on with Danny was a constant refrain. But given the stuff going on with Danny, she was concerned that she might not be back in time, even though our flight was to land the day before. It wasn't so odd to me. It wasn't winter. We're going through it. It's like LA to Atlanta to Tallahassee, leaving in the morning. I didn't see any real reason why that would be a problem.
She would have needed to pick up the kids on July 18th, right?
Yes. She knew that then. Their schedules were planned out for like months.
Okay, so you would have returned on the 17th and she would have been picking up her children from preschool on the 18th.
Yeah, I think 5 p.m. on the 18th, which is why I didn't object. I just said, okay, I didn't make a thing out of it, but it didn't make any sense.
And that, just for clarification, that conversation occurred on June 4th.
It did.
Okay, when was the next time you saw her after that coffee shop meeting?
Yeah, so that was mid-afternoon, and in the evening, I had plans to go see her and spend time with her and the kids. And then she had contacted me that she wasn't feeling well and I should like rush over there essentially. She had a stomach problem, so I got there as quickly as I could.
All right, so did you go to her residence that evening?
I did.
And what happened when you got there?
On the way there, I remember contacting her and asking her, do you want me to stop and get some stomach medicine or something like that? And didn't. I believe she told me not to. Once I got there, she hemmed and hawed a little bit, and then eventually I left because she was a complete anxious wreck. She didn't have the flu. She didn't have food poisoning. She was just a nervous, anxious wreck, and it was affecting her stomach. So after a little while, I drove to a nearby convenience store to go get her Pepto-Bismol, which I recall because I have a credit card receipt from this random convenience store a few miles from her house.
Yeah, this is a family of weak stomachs. You see Charlie Adelson just get almost green in some parts of his trial. Like a whiter shade, very pale and almost a little green looking.
All right, so she was a nervous wreck that night, and did she tell you what the problem was or not?
No, there was no discernible. I couldn't figure it out. She didn't tell me.
Okay. All right. Was there a time when you were over at Ms. Adelson's residence and you observed that her TV was broken?
Yes,
Okay, tell me about that. When did that occur?
that would have been around the week of June 11th to 18th, somewhere in that time period. I went over Wendy's to spend time with her and the kids, and she asked me to take a look at the television. I turned it on. She said there was a problem with the TV. So I turned it on expecting to see like input one flashing, or, the kids pushed the wrong button or whatever. And what I'm looking at when I turn it on is a screen that's been partially shattered, that's been struck by an object. So she had a broken TV.
All right. And did she tell you what happened?
Strangely, her alibi is a TV. He's like, it's like a 5'3", 5'4", whatever, however tall Wendi is, struck it. That's what he says. It's almost like someone exactly Wendy's size put her fist through the TV, which would be her alibi. I mean, I thought it was quite damning when Charlie describes Wendi leaving her alibi on the day of the murder. Why did she have to leave her alibi? They're complaining in his jailhouse calls after his conviction to his mother, Donna. Why did Wendi leave her alibi? Why did she have to leave her alibi and then drive by the crime scene? It's not your alibi, it's what you were doing that day. But in case if you planned a murder for hire, it's your alibi.
The TV, how it got into that?
No, she kind of asked me to look into the TV, as if, she didn't know. I looked around. It was impossible to me that the kids would have done it, but I didn't know about better explanation at the time. So I was kind of mystified as to what happened. It looked like a human being stood, between 5'5" and 6 foot, something like that. It stood in front of it and hit it. That's what it looked like. But she was asking me.
Okay, so it was like an impact mark, like a round impact with spider webs.
Exactly the name.
Between 5'5" and 6 foot. How about in between 5'5" and 5'6"? More like someone fitting exactly Wendy's description hit it.
The pixels are distorted. Most people have probably seen this. So it's, and it wasn't completely shattered. You could sort of see what was going on the television, but it's not a TV anybody would normally watch.
Okay. All right, so let's move away from the TV for now. Was there a date that you had with Wendi Adelson on, gosh, have I gone backwards in time here? It was the day before her birthday. What was the date of that?
We were scheduled to have a date day before her birthday is April 21st. We were scheduled to have kind of a special date night that night. Wendi didn't answer her phone, didn't answer texts, and I got so concerned about her. A few hours after the date was supposed to have started, I just drove over there to check on her, knock on the door for a while. She finally came to the door. Appeared to be intoxicated, and not just on alcohol. I mean, weary-eyed. I'm not sure what substances, but it wasn't good. She wanted me to stay, and I was.
Right. Was her father right? Who was writing all these scripts for people in the family? And for those saying that, oh, I don't know who said that in the audience. Who said you don't take narcotics for anxiety? Well, if you're Donna and your whole family is going to hell in a handbasket and you think you're going to be arrested any day, you might want to escape. So yeah. But who was writing these scripts? Was Harvey writing these scripts? If he's writing scripts for Wendi, for Lexapro, is he comfortable writing scripts for his wife? Did they have a whole arsenal of illicit drugs? That's what I want to know. Or do they count on Harvey or Charlie to write these scripts? He's also writing scripts for Catherine McManawa. It's not in the doctor's ethics code, but they don't. We know the Adelsons don't follow the rules.
I was annoyed enough that I actually just left. I didn't stay the night. So.
Okay, so I kind of got our timeline out of her, but some erratic behavior from her on April 21st and then again on June 4th.
That's right.
Okay. I'm going to approach and show you a text message that was sent on June 28th of 2014. I've marked it as State's Exhibit 141. Have you ever had a chance to review this text message before?
Yeah, you showed this to me last week.
All right, and this message had never been shown to you before last week, right?
Right.
And it's been testified that this was from Wendi Adelson to her brother, Rob Adelson, but it concerns you.
Yes.
Is there anything factually incorrect in what Wendi Adelson is stating in that text message?
Well, she says, I haven't told mom and dad about me. I met them multiple times. It's impossible that they didn't know we were dating. For example, I was aware that when Donna wasn't thrilled that I wasn't Jewish, so there was, that doesn't add it. This doesn't make sense to me in terms of like seeing me for 6 or 7 months.
So
And
in that text message, she's saying, that you're a secret boyfriend from the parents. Were you a secret boyfriend from the parents at that time?
it's implausible. No, I don't
In
think so.
fact, you met the parents several times.
Yeah, and heck,
I mean, boy, doesn't it sound like they're setting up Wendy's trial here a little bit? I thought that was very compelling testimony that he didn't know about this. None of us knew about this email from Wendi to Robert Adelson with Jeffrey LaCasse's picture. Here he's being told a week before. He's like, here's another thing. Here's another thing that just stacks up in the evidence that I was the fall guy. I was the patsy. And boy, it's amazing he's this nervous testifying, that he doesn't get some satisfaction. I'm feeling like this is his revenge. Curious, that was really the narrative that Rashbaum went with in The Cross. Like, you're angry, Wendi broke up with you. You might have been the fall guy, that kind of thing. It might have set you up. Here, they didn't do this with Donna's Cross. Wasn't like that.
conversations with them, limited conversations, but conversations. And the other part that's I think really significant is the kids talked about me constantly. I have all kinds of text messages and emails where Wendy's mentioning the kids are down in South Florida talking about me.
Please hit the thumbs up, guys. Right. Yala just said, dude has doormat written all over him. Right. He's going to go to yoga, even though he doesn't like yoga with her. He was crazy about her. But then in bed, sorry, it's too much. She wants to be bossed around by him. Like, who wants to be bossed around by this very decent guy? I mean, that takes a lot of fantasy work, I guess. I don't know. Seems so odd to me. He calls himself Mr. Rogers at one point, I think, in his police interview. Here, just to take a little break from this testimony. Here he is in his police interview talking about Wendi sleeping with Daniel Sack and then coming to his bed. Take a listen. And then talking about how she doesn't feel bad about when she hurts people. She doesn't feel bad about anything. He also says the worst thing you can do for Wendi is point out that she's not perfect. And she was very concerned about her reputation. This is the ultimate karma. Her reputation, even if she never gets indicted, her reputation will always be as an unindicted co-conspirator in a murder, as essentially a murderer. We heard from Robert Adelson that she didn't get this job in a law firm and partner in a law firm, $1 million legal job, because after her husband was murdered, who wants to hire her? So her reputation has been totally destroyed by the murder that was done for her benefit so that she could have it all, essentially. Have the sexy job, the high-paying job, have the kids, have the kids near the grandparents, have the kids raised totally under her control, and not have to give up a thing and compromise a thing to Dan Markel. Because any kind of compromise in this family is a loss. And this family is obsessed with winning. They have to win.
she was doing very erratic things, like she would go to Daniel Sack's house, spend the afternoon with him, have sex with him, come see me, have sex with me. I didn't get a full STI workup. I'm putting my stuff someplace as another man's been 45 minutes earlier. She conceded this. So I was really upset, as you can imagine. I mean, and put me with the kids on Mother's Day and the next day, I was really upset. So anyway, I was pretty angry with her. And you may have seen the email. She actually was manipulative enough. They ended up apologizing for that. Because,
Was this on her Gmail account?
Yes. There's a lot of.
Other investigators have looked at those.
Gotcha.
And so I'd have to figure out which one.
And I'm just saying, if you see it, it's a little.
I just didn't know if it was her Gmail account or her work account or a different account.
Yeah.
If I want to go back and look at it, I'm gonna look at the Gmail.
Yeah, it's Gmail. It's on Gmail. Is my impression, at least. I think that's the one I would use. So we had it out, and the reason that's important is she was very concerned about her social reputation. Are you going to tell anybody about this?
About what? Her having sex with Daniel?
And Miguel and Mahul and other men. Yeah, and I said, we stay together, I won't. If we don't, I won't slander you, but let's be adults here. This is Tallahassee. You know how many people I know? I must be realistic here. I said, I'm not going to try to destroy your reputation, but you made these choices. By the way, I'm not.
Did she give a reason?
It's deeply important to her she be perceived a certain way.
No, did she give a reason why she was having multiple sex partners?
Not a good one, no.
But what a great thing to have if you're a lawyer, to have an email with someone saying, yeah, I'm going to destroy your reputation if you don't stay with me. Oh, I broke up with him a week before the murder. And look what happened. Dan Markel was murdered. Maybe this was his way to get me back. Maybe this was his way to, I don't know, ruin me. I don't know what. But what a perfect way to get something unflattering in an email, written email that you could show police. Here's Jeffrey LaCasse saying that he was going to ruin my reputation.
And she said she didn't actually. She said she was very upset by my behavior in Immokalee when we had two that you or I would probably consider normal range uncomfortable conversations for 30 seconds. So I said, she said, I was afraid in Immokalee you were going to be a jerk. I was like, I said, could you please be more considerate to me? That's literally all I said. She's a hair trigger. I think she didn't want a boyfriend, is my suspicion. But I think I was awful helpful with the kids and stuff like that.
Okay, I got you.
I think she enjoyed using me as her.
Okay, let's narrow this down.
Yeah.
Okay, June 27th, you're telling me is the date that you're in Gainesville and you have this blow up.
Yeah, we have a total blow up.
Okay, so is the comment about Charlie and the 15 grand after that?
It is after that.
Okay, so we can narrow it down to the 27th. And
Yeah.
after.
You know what? I just want to be as conservative as I can, but I'm almost positive that was July, the Monday before he was shot. If I had to bet money on it, that's where I put my money.
Okay.
So, when I was talking to her about that, I was struck by how cold and callous and basically sociopathic she was. Here I am, I was crying, I was very upset. And I said, you're not a sociopath, you must feel bad about this on a certain level. And she goes, I don't know if I'm a sociopath, I don't feel bad about any of this. And she was laughing and describing some of the experiences she'd had with other men. Actually, she was making it clear they were very enjoyable and stuff like that. I've never seen that from men. I've never seen that from a woman before. It was
What kind of,
I said, there was this one night where you said you were at book club. I know you weren't at book club. She's like, I was pretty drunk that night. I had a really good time that night.
she rubbing this in your face, you think, or is it?
She was, but it was just strange because I'm not the one that did any. I was completely faithful to this woman and I was very dedicated. Well, you could ask anybody.
But had there ever been a confusion about, okay, Jeff, I'll just be simple, elementary terms. Jeff loves Wendi. Wendi loves everybody. You see what I'm getting at?
No, that's what
you understood her that she was supposed to be strictly with you.
Yeah, just from March on. Before that, I knew I knew what she was doing before that. March on, I've been to 50 dinner parties where I'm introduced as her boyfriend. She took me out in public constantly. The Daniel Sack thing, they went to the movies and stuff, but in general, they're at his house. I think they went to yoga and some things too. I got some weird looks from people in public sometimes that made me, I got suspicious. You know, I go to yoga and this one guy be looking at us. I was like,
What are you doing there?
like, I just got the impression like, was she here with somebody else? You know, that kind of thing. But other, I think that was probably maybe what she wanted. I don't know how relevant it is. I guess what's relevant is that she, I'm over the.
Yeah, that's Wendy's kiss off when she takes you to yoga. No, maybe that's just a thing she like to take guys to yoga. I don't want to date any guy who does yoga. Okay, call me old fashioned. Call me I don't know what, but at least with me. If he wants to do it in private, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to see my guy doing yoga. I don't know.
Hurt being thing. You know, this stuff happens, but publicly, I was her boyfriend. I was. That's one of the things that I don't know if it was an investigative technique or not reading the file, but Investigator Hill kept calling Daniel Sack her boyfriend, and that got me pretty fired up. And that's one of the reasons I might not have made a lot of sense because that was really it provoked me. I don't know if that's on accident or purpose, but it was one of these things where like he didn't seem to know that I was her boyfriend, and he thought Daniel Sack was. It was
Hale did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be quite honest. My understanding was Sack was before you and her hooked up.
Yeah, just went back to him after spring.
But I thought he went west or north or
He's
something.
in Massachusetts, and he left in late May. So there's 2 months there. Where
Oh, I thought he'd been gone way before that.
No. He was
May of 2014.
May 20th, 2014 is when he left.
Do you know that for a
So he eventually left. So they're talking about, again, for those just tuning in, they're talking about Wendi two-timing Jeff with this guy, Daniel Sack. He's a professor in the Commonwealth Honors College and English Department who serves as a graduate program director for the MA PhD program at U of Mass. He received his BA in English with a concentration in creative writing, poetry from Brandeis, where Wendi went, and an MA PhD from Stanford University's drama department. There he is. His first book, he's also a writer too, like Wendi. After Live, Possibility, Potentiality. Oh, potentiality. That's such a pretentious word. After Live, Possibility, Potentiality, and the Future of Performance, published by the University of Michigan Press, explores how live performance stages different structures for representing the future's most divergent courses. Wait, how does that make sense? His book, with the pretentious title, explores how live performance stages different structures for representing the future's many divergent courses. So live performance shows the direction that real life future can go. Is that what it means? A short I don't understand that sentence. A second short book, Samuel Beckett's Crap's Last Tape, was published by Routledge in 2016. His most recent book, Hugh Tears, on the Art of Crying. Maybe did he study Wendy's police interrogation for that? Hugh Tears, on the Art of Crying. I didn't make this up. Forthcoming from the University of Michigan Press in 2024, regards the tear on stage and on screen and in the police precinct. That's just me saying police precinct, as a prism from which we reconsider how we feel alone and with others. Okay. Heady stuff. All right. All right, a little back to, I'm going to just go back and forth from the actual testimony to some of the police interview, back to the testimony.
Okay, I want to draw your attention next to a disagreement that occurred with Wendi Adelson on June 29th of 2014. Do you recall that incident?
I do.
Okay. And at that time, did you confront Wendi about some suspicions you had that she was seeing other men?
Yeah, that was part of it. That was the main part of the disagreement. I also had spent the last 2 or 3 months concerned that she seemed to be stringing me along.
Where did the fight occur?
The fight occurred in Gainesville.
Okay, and I say fight, it was a verbal
It was
disagreement.
verbal disagreement, and argument's not even the right word. We just exchanged words. Yeah,
Okay, and did that exchange of words lead to an awkward drive together back to Tallahassee?
it did. A very awkward drive back to Tallahassee.
And that was
It's the morning of it's 29th or 30th. It's the 30th, morning of the 30th.
morning of June 30th.
Yes.
Okay. And after you parted ways, once you returned back to Tallahassee on the 30th, what was the status of your relationship over the next couple weeks?
Yeah. Well, we left that. I left on the 30th when he was clear that it wasn't over, but it wasn't great that we'd had this exchange either. So over the next couple weeks, we had phone calls, text messages, video chats with the kids. My take was, seems like it's probably going to be okay, but I didn't know for sure. It did string the relationship out another couple weeks when it easily could have ended.
When was the next time you saw her in person?
July 13th.
All right, so about, I guess that's the Sunday before the murder, is that right?
That's correct.
And where did you see her?
We went to dinner and a movie. I picked her up at her house at Aqua Ridge. We went to dinner and a movie and then returned there.
Okay, while we're on the topic of Aqua Ridge, I'm going to approach and show you what's been introduced. All right, we'll circle back to Aqua Ridge. So we're on the disagreement, didn't see her for a while, saw her on July 13th. And you were at her residence. What was the plan for that evening?
I didn't know. It was just to spend time together and maybe talk about the relationship some, but we were conversing. We had conversations.
Were the kids there that night?
They were not.
Okay, so it was just the two of you at the residence?
Just the two of us.
All right, and did the subject of relocation come up?
Yes.
In what context?
I mean, you get a much better sense from his police interview that the subject of relocation was just always the topic. Dan Markel, the divorce, relocation was just the constant source of upset that never lifted. I don't know if the jury got that so much. Let me know what you think in this testimony.
It came up.
Then again, it's Wendy's trial, it's not Wendy's trial, it's Donna's trial,
In the
not
context
Wendy's.
of whenever Wendi got back from Miami, she was always very upset about the fact the relocation had previously been denied. I mean, it had been legally denied, but she wasn't over it. It was a constant refrain about how much she hated Tallahassee. So we're talking about the future of our relationship. And I'm asking, are you going to be here? Because with the constant complaining about how hard it was on her parents to transport the kids and just the constant complaining, just thinking, is she even going to be here? Is it worth trying to push forward in the relationship? She said the only way that I'd ever relocate is if something would have to happen to Dan.
Subject to the same ruling at sidebar. The objection is overruled pending the other matters that do have to be addressed. You may continue.
Right. The only way she could relocate is if her ex-husband were suddenly, something happened to him. What does something happen mean? He gets hit on the head and suddenly loves Miami and has to move to Miami? Or what it means is killed. Oh, Mia Wallace, I'm not putting down yoga. I'm just saying, I don't want to do that with any guy I'm interested in. I don't know. I would find it a turn off to watch a guy do yoga with me or have a guy watch me do yoga. I don't know, sweat through yoga. I don't want to do that as a couple's activity. Nothing against yoga. Michelle DeMatisse says, been a member for 2 months, says, awesome. Glad you're enjoying this. It's not a long testimony.
Please repeat your answer.
Yeah, the only way she'd ever be able to relocate is if something happened to Danny, was the first statement.
Okay, and did she mention anything further about something
Well,
happening to Danny?
Can I give the context before the next?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was getting a little tired of this whole drama around the relocation. And so I pushed back on Wendi a little bit and said, like, you're going to have to kind of make your peace with this. You're going to have to take some responsibility for this. You're linked to Dan Markel for life. Kind of challenged her a little bit. And she said, well, can I tell you something confidentially? And I said, sure. And she said, last summer.
Same rule remains, the objection is overruled. You may continue with your answer.
She
Can
said,
I tell you something in confidence?
yeah, can I tell you something? After I challenge her, can I tell you something in confidence? Sure. Well, last summer, my brother looked into all options possible to take care of the Danny Markel problem, including hiring a hitman, and it would cost about $15,000.
Okay, and when she referred to her brother, she's got two of those, right?
She said Charlie.
Okay. And when she said Charlie looked into hiring a hitman, are you familiar with Charlie's joke? I looked into hiring a hitman, but got you a TV as a divorce president because it was cheaper.
Yeah, Wendi told me that joke a couple of times. This was not that joke.
Okay, so this was something different.
Yeah, the joke was said with levity. It's a dark joke, but this I found chilling. I found disturbing. It made my stomach flip. It kind of took me aback. She was dead serious when she said this. And she'd asked to tell me in confidence what you don't do before you tell a joke.
Okay.
I mean, he has great common sense things like that. That's when he just said that. He goes, she said she told me in confidence, and that's not the way you present a joke. I thought that's why one of the reasons why Jeffrey LaCasse's testimony is so good is he puts in those common sense reasonings. So you can't go to places like off the spectrum of normal human behavior. Like, what if she was just joking about the hitman, or what if it was, I don't know what, but I think she really did say 50. I've always thought she said $15,000 and he heard it right. We didn't hear any of this. Maybe it could be $50,000. I think it's the way she lies. She puts in something implausible with something so that if he tells it, people go $15,000. It kills someone. Nobody's doing that. That's ridiculous. Get what I'm saying? So it's like a little insurance policy. No one's going to believe that. And they really thought nobody was going to believe the way Donna describes Jeffrey LaCasse as twitchy, nervous Jeffrey LaCasse. So had he, to all the people saying, well, when his stomach flipped, why didn't he run into the police station and tell them? Wendi Adelson really is wanting to kill her ex-husband? Wendi Adelson, the lawyer, Wendi Adelson, who graduated magna cum laude from Brandeis. Do you see how the social cachet was useful to them? Wendi Adelson, who writes books works with human trafficking victims. That Wendi Adelson is trying to kill her ex-husband. Tell me another one. They would have laughed him out of the police station. And they really thought that they would get away with this because nobody would believe the Latin king, head of the Latin kings, up against the Dr. Harvey Adelson and his wife, Donna, right? The domestic coordinator. the I don't know, the dental coordinator. The dental coordinator, no, it's not going to hurt anyone. The dental coordinator. This is ridiculous. It's crazy.
I want to take you to the next day then. So we're at July 14th, the Monday before the murder.
Yes.
Did you see Wendi Adelson on that date?
Yes. We had contact throughout the day trying to arrange some kind of date. It kind of ebbed and flowed. But she was real enthusiastic about seeing me at one point. And then like mid-afternoon, let's just meet at yoga is what was decided. So we went to yoga.
Okay. What happened after yoga?
Well, I was wondering why we were at yoga because when he was being very strange, I felt like the relationship was over. She wasn't feeling well. I'm not a big yoga guy, so I didn't understand why we were at yoga for like 80 minutes, stretching. But then when we left yoga, we barely spoke, and I was just getting a vibe that this is over. Tried to talk about the relationship, didn't go very well. It was pretty clear to me. My internal thoughts were like, well, this is over. So she didn't want to spend time with me the rest of the week. So I just put my hands up like this, remember this vividly, and just turned around and walked away.
Where were you when that was happening?
We're in the parking lot of Journeys Yoga over by Winn-Dixie.
Okay, so you have your two respective vehicles there. And
Yes.
You're parting ways.
Yes.
Okay, what happens as you walk away?
Get about 10, 15 feet away from her, and she calls after me. I turn around, and she had a series of detailed questions about what I would be doing on Friday. I had a trip to Tennessee planned, and she wanted to know if I was going on that trip, and she wanted to know what route I would be taking. And if I didn't go on the trip, why wouldn't I go on the trip? And I answered the questions as best I could, but I was confused why at that moment she wanted to know the details of what I was doing on Friday when she expressly didn't want to spend time with me on Friday.
Okay, and we now know that Dan Markel was murdered on Friday.
Yes.
Right? If you had taken the trip as planned, which is as you reported to Wendi that day, what would your route have been?
I would have left my house at about 11 a.m., which Wendi knew. I'd related my plan to her earlier in the relationship. Needed to get to Atlanta for dinner and was worried about traffic and stuff like that. So I would have left at 11 and I would have driven down. I would have got to Capitol Circle in Thomasville, which is close enough to Danny's house that it kind of gave me the creeps. It was kind of weird. Yeah.
Okay, so physically, you're saying you might have been sort of consistent with where how the killers fled home.
Yeah.
Okay, and after this yoga date and the discussion of your travel plans, did you get an email from Wendi?
I did.
I'm going to publish what's in introducing the evidence of states 64 GG.
Right. Spoiler alert. She wants 1 week to think about it. She wants to break up with him just for a week. And in that week, he could just remove Dan Markel from the earth, and then things could be great between him and Wendi. That's the idea. I think that's where Donna was going with that terrible script writing. I just removed Dan Markel. Jeffrey LaCasse thought everything could be okay with Wendi. They could be together again. He was the source of all the stress.
Is this the email she sent you after the yoga date?
Yes.
All right, so is she breaking up with you? Is that clear?
No, she's asking, well, I considered her, like, based on our interaction, I thought this is over. I had told Wendi if she wanted to break up with me, she doesn't like confrontation, just send me an email or text. She sends me this, which strings everything out for a week. So she's not breaking up. Functionally, that's realistically, I'm not dumb. I'm thinking we're over. But she's asking for another week, which brings it to the 21st of July. And I was puzzled. I wondered what in the world's going to happen July 21st, but I just didn't respond because she asked for no contact.
All right, so she wants to have no contact for a week.
Right.
Okay.
Here's a.
I was able to find that photo I was looking for earlier, 86A.
So, and the car is similar. They rented cars similar to his cars both time. Here's another story you haven't heard yet from his, or maybe you have heard it. Okay, so take a listen to this. This is from the police interview.
He knows I could be crazed. You just sit next door to back.
Let me go back. Hold on a second. Let me go back.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Oh, when she was up here, how's this for awkward? My best friend sat next to her at a bat mitzvah. He refers to her, just so you know what it's like in the community, he calls her the murderer in common conversation. He's convinced. I don't know how,
Wise guy. He's convinced from this experience of being with her at a bar mitzvah. This is Wendi at a bar mitzvah after Dan Markel's
A lot
murder.
of people, and that's not from my take on it, that's his take on it.
Right.
He knows I could be crazed. He had to sit next door to bat mitzvah for 4 hours. She's cracking jokes about Danny getting his head blown off.
Head blown off.
Yes, cracking. And I can't remember the exact joke, but that was how he put it at least. And he said he looked at her and said, Wendy, that's totally inappropriate.
Where was this at?
So it was the Andrew Epstein's daughter's bar mitzvah,
Okay.
which was 3 weekends ago. She was here for 4 days. And in the morning when she was here, it was a church ceremony in the morning, the party at night. And the morning one, she sobbed through the whole thing. And whenever anybody asked her, like, what's going on? She didn't say I'm sad. She said, I'm nervous. I'm anxious.
Right. And she was telling her friend, Sarah Yusuf, I think this is important. She was going to prison for the rest of her life. So she's not crying for Dan Markel. She's crying for herself. What she thinks her future is going to be. Wesley loves Octoberfest. I hope the cat door fund is growing. It is. I think you're going to have a plate on that cat door, Wesley. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and the stream. This is a listener-supported channel. I appreciate it. Cannot do it without you guys.
I've seen a lot of grief. I'm a social worker. That's really an atypical reaction. It's real strange. And then the evening, she was pretty much herself, but she was cracking jokes. She told some of my friends that she's changing their names to Adelson. She still hates Danny more than you would ever think. And no one has ever heard her say one sympathetic thing about Danny Markel to this day. And it's just weird. Why would you be hanging on to anger? I mean, it's so, I can only think of one reason, to make the world make sense to you. But yeah, she was cracking jokes, which sometimes people deal with pain in that way. I get that. But I mean,
How did she say it? How did he tell you? She said it.
he might have sent me here's what she said. There was one just general joke, but I have the other text. He said, my favorite quote from tonight, I overheard Wendi saying, at least it didn't happen to Jeff or the kids or somebody I actually cared about.
Okay.
So that was the vibe. She's faced with those.
At least it didn't happen to Jeff or the kids. Yeah, because Jeff had to be my patsy to go down for this crime. Or the kids or someone I cared about. Thank God it was Danny. It couldn't happen. It's like, doesn't it remind you of the teacher murder? You know what I'm talking about. He couldn't have been murdered at a better time. You know what I'm talking about. That's what she said about her husband, who she had murdered. That's another murder for hire case in New Hampshire.
They split this town into 2 piles, I mean, it was a nasty thing. But people that aren't me, because I'm careful, I haven't told anybody the story like I've told it to you. I've told people.
Thank you, Pam Smart. Another psychopathic murderer. She's been trying to get out of prison forever. She's finally admitted guilt, guys, sort of. She realizes she's not going to get out any other way, playing victim and saying she only had an affair for how many years? 35, 40 years. Didn't work.
People I'm suspicious. That's about all I've said. They find her behavior erratic, bizarre, scary, and people who are very close friends to her are coming to the point where they're like, Jeff, I'm having people stopping in my office saying, Jeff, is there any chance? I was just out the Adelsons in Miami. Is there any chance they had something to do with this? That's the weirdest family, the vibe. You walk in the room and something's strange. I know it's all subjective, but it helps me to hear that because I feel like I'm a crazy person for the last 6 months. I've been waiting for you guys to arrest some vagary, I mean, and those names I give you, I mean, that's so you can have all the data I have. Wendi with Charlie. I don't know who pulls the trigger.
Yeah, see, he got the trigger person wrong, but he got the whole, he solved the whole murder. He solved it for them. It's like Wendi with Charlie. He didn't get Donna. He didn't connect Donna, did he? But he got Charlie's the shooter wrong.
But there's a very strange relationship between those two. I acknowledge this might all sound real crazy to you, Mr. Gary.
I'm not, no. So I'm very interested in this.
Yeah,
I want to make sure that I understand it
yeah,
completely and thoroughly.
yeah.
And I can see that it's been weighing on you heavily.
Well, it has, because it sounds crazy to people, honestly. Although I told a couple of people the whole story like I told it to you start to finish, and no one else has said I'm crazy. My therapist said, one thing I forgot to tell you, I had to go get a damn therapist. It was so crazy. So I tried to manage her. I tried to get some advice on relationships. And in April of 2014, he tells me, look, he's real blunt. I gotta be honest with you. Two possibilities. One is she's just getting over a divorce, is drinking too much, and she'll settle down over time, maybe live happily ever after. Second option, she sounds an awful lot like a sociopath to me. That's an objective person.
Right.
And I said, sociopath? I said, yeah, high functioning, but she doesn't seem to have a conscience. And I said, oh, Jesus, what I got myself into?
Yeah, like, or a psychopath. I don't know. I don't really believe in these variations. He calls Charlie a psychopath. I think it's a family of psychopaths, like every other person I talk about on this channel. They walk amongst us, guys. And they're very charismatic. Sometimes they can get a lot of supporters. Look at the Menendez brothers. Look at Amanda Knox is coming out with another Poor Me documentary on the Murderer channel, i.e. Netflix. The Let's Get All the Murderers Out channel.
I was in love with her and I wasn't going to leave at that point. But that's the kind of feedback I've got when I tell people what she's actually like. Okay. I prefer that you guys catch somebody else, obviously.
Right. When's the last time you talked to her or had any conversation?
You are correct. They aren't necessarily violent, but when you're dealing with crime, I think it's like 70% of the prison population, something like that.
I can find it
Antisocial personality disorder.
for you. It would have been in around August 20th.
Oh, that long ago.
Yeah. She cut off all contact because I didn't tell her I was dating. It was just bizarre. That was the time, it was about the time of commencement, summer semester.
It's really easy to forget that Jeff comes from the Army, you know? Wonder how he did there. He has such a, soft side.
Commencement. That was another thing as far as narcissism and a crazy person. You know what Wendy was mostly upset about? And she told me this. The fact that she had to cancel her commencement speech because Danny was shot.
Mm.
Her attorney said it's a bad idea to get yourself in front of the media like that. Inside edition will show up. You can't do it. She was devastated. It's bizarre.
I went back and looked. Apparently you all have somebody, McPherson.
Jay McPherson.
Yeah. What's the relationship?
I'm sorry, you may be right. Maybe was it the Air Force and not the Army? I knew it was the military. Thank you, Tinfoil Hat Society. I appreciate it. Thanks for the correction.
She has something to do with Wendy?
They claim that she was in the room with Wendy in the 9 hours you guys interviewed Wendy.
She came up here. She was not in the room with her.
Wendy told me she was in the room.
Well, okay, let me correct that.
That sounded weird to me.
She came in the room, I think it was over the children. The children had to be picked up.
Gotcha.
And
It was weird. Sorry, Isom. I like Isom and I'll defend him. But having Jane McPherson, has anybody seen her? Let's just see. Let me just pull it up on the fly here. But has anybody seen her X account? I mean, to me, it just screams narcissist. Someone to stay away from when people like. All right, here we go. When they, how do I put this? Virtue signal like this on their social media. Look at this. She still has the mask picture up. How long have we been out of COVID? And then this behind it. And then it's always on like, various topics that, will make her look good. Excited to be part of a panel. Social work histories of complexity, complicity and resistance. Industrial anthems. Local working people. There she is now. Everybody's aged, including myself. Yeah, we've all aged since 2014. But yeah, it was weird having Jane McPherson in the... He's right, in the interrogation room. She should have never... I know Wendi was a witness, but she practically moved in. She's in there a while.
And there was two ladies that were up here, and I can't remember if that was McPherson or
Well,
not.
Jane was with her that day, and coincidentally, Jane's one of my doctoral students in our program. So she's getting her PhD in social work. I teach in social work, so I know her professionally.
Right.
Jane is the one I talked to for about 3 hours, maybe 2 weeks after the crime. They told me that Wendi and her circle of friends thought I did this.
Jane told you that?
Jane told me that. She said you had to be there if you were, and she basically made it sound like and she's a confidant of Wendi. See, Wendi has told many people that I stalked her, that I falsely accused her of cheating on me, that I'm this very mean person.
Right. Like the same thing she does with Dan Markel. Like he says that I would have to be mentally ill or a bad person to want to leave him. All those crazy things she said about Dan Markel. Not saying he couldn't be difficult. He's obviously was a type A personality, but let's just finish up on we're almost at the end of his direct here, but that'll give you a little background. I mean, I'm just trying to give you a little background into, it's a very long interrogation and he says a lot. I would encourage you to check out, check out the whole thing.
Recognize 86A?
Yeah, that's Wendy's. Adelson's residence on Aqua Ridge, and that's what it looked like we were dating.
Okay. We have an evidence 86A.
Let me appear. There you are. 86A is admitted at this time.
May I publish?
You may.
All right, so I blurred the boys' faces, but this is how the...
This is a thing that I didn't think we had heard before. Correct me if I'm wrong. Had we heard this testimony before that Wendi Adelson was taking down her son's pictures from the wall before the murder? That pictures always went up, but they were never taken down. Had we heard this before? Let me know. And maybe I missed it. And the zillion times I'd watched this testimony. Somehow it didn't go through the brain. This is the first time I've heard it.
At Aqua Ridge appeared.
Yes.
And the kids' art that's shown on the wall here, was that present during the time that you were dating Wendi Adelson?
Yes.
Was it something that art would come down, other art would go up, or was it pretty fixed?
It was maybe some art would get added, but I never saw it come down until July 14th. 13th, sorry, July 13th.
July 13th, you noticed that.
You noticed the artwork was coming down, which gives you the idea that Wendi was packing. Remember the time when she wouldn't let him all the way into the house? I've always thought she had packing boxes then. I think she secretly packed. That's why she got out of Tallahassee so quick. I don't think she hired movers on the fly. I think she just packed what she could and early and got it all out of there.
Has been taken down?
We walked into the kitchen, and then Wendi was pulling art off the wall. The only time I'd ever seen her do that.
And I want to ask you about, I've nicknamed it the celebration dinner. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay. Could you tell the jury about that, please?
Yeah.
Objection, Your Honor. Also be hearsay. I understand the court's prior.
Objection is overruled.
Wendi and I reestablished phone contact about 10 days after the murder. She called me. And we had 3 or 4 phone calls. In one of them, she related that her and Charlie had gone to what Charlie called a celebration dinner. And at that dinner, Charlie said something to her. She didn't specify what it was, and she spontaneously vomited all over the table.
Are you aware, sir, that you were suggested as a potential suspect? in this
Yes.
murder? Where were you when Dan Markel was murdered?
I was in Tennessee because I had left on my trip the night before.
So
Rather
you
than
changed your plan.
I changed my plans at the last minute.
All right, and you provided law enforcement with some receipts and things to prove that you were in Tennessee at the time?
All that, and I got a flat tire, so I ended up getting videotaped at a Kmart. And I know the TPD is that to exclude me with the timestamp on the.
Well, kudos to Jane McPherson for saying that to Jeff LaCasse's face, that we all thought you did it, but you had to be there. We all talked yourselves into it, and Wendy's encouraging it and probably manipulating everybody. Oh yeah, it was really bad. He was stalking me, because stalking is often a precursor to this kind of violence.
Surveillance footage.
Can I have one moment, Your Honor? At some point, did you learn that the killers came to Tallahassee in June, not just in July?
Yes, when arrests were made and the documents were released, I learned that, yes.
And did you put together some facts about your travel plans that day that could have potentially made you a suspect on that trip as well if murder had happened as
Yeah,
planned?
that Friday, I was scheduled to go to a business trip in Gainesville, leaving at 11 a.m. So 2 times in 2014, I leave town on a trip by myself in my car, and both times hitmen are in town trying to kill Danny Markel, one successfully, obviously.
Are you familiar with the type of vehicle that was originally rented by the killers in June to make that June trip?
I am.
And was that significant to you?
Yeah, I mean, this is long after this all happened. I'm learning this from court proceedings in 2016. But when I heard they rented a gray Altima initially, I had a 2004 Nissan Sentra. That freaked me out because that's about as close as you were going to get to my car
Or a silver pine mica Prius.
on the rental market.
I'm going to show you what I marked as state's demonstrative exhibit G. You recognize this exhibit?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, is this the make and model of the, it's not the actual rental car, but the make and model of the rental car compared to the make and model of your vehicle?
Yeah, my car's right on top. That looks just like the car I had at the time.
Permission to publish, Your Honor?
You may.
I have one more moment to confer, please. No further questions, Judge.
Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor, just a moment.
Okay. It was a boring cross-examination. I'm not going to go into it. They didn't really land any punches. It was, you always said, I don't know. It was like, what was it? You didn't, Wendi was, Donna was nice to you, et cetera, type of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I really encourage you to watch the whole cross-examination, the whole interrogation of Jeffrey LaCasse. The police, they're fascinating. And he had her number by the end there. I really think that the plan was for Jeffrey LaCasse to be not only the suspect, but be the truth teller and have no one believe him. Like the crazy man pull out, but you got to believe me. It's the Adelsons, it's Wendi, and everyone laughing at him and saying, oh no, it was you, like pulled out like the lone truth teller in this. You got to believe me. Wendi told me that the year before Charlie said Charlie looked into hiring it, and got to believe me. No, you did it, buddy. Lock him up. That was the fantasy, because to the Adelson, these people are disposable. They're to be looked down upon. Air Force, low-paid teacher, social work. They're not a doctor. They're not a lawyer. They're to be thrown away. They're to be used for their ends. They don't make any money. I mean, everything is money and power and status to these people. So this is written on September 29th, 2023. I'm going to end this episode the way I do most of my episodes about the murder of Dan Markel with a victim impact letter. This is to Stephen Everett. It was written in Charlie Adelson's case. I met Danny in 1997 when I arrived in Israel for a year-long fellowship program. Danny was an alumnus of the program and had returned to Israel to visit. He introduced me to his favorite cafe, and he lent me advice about adjusting to living in this new place. Many of Danny's friends talk about how when they first met, he led with a posture of close friendship unless given reason otherwise. Danny would ask about your past experiences, about your dreams, and your wishes for the future. And this is how Danny and I first became friends. Our friendship grew in the ensuing 17 years, despite not living in the same city. While he was living in Washington, D.C. and Florida, he would be in touch when visiting New York or Massachusetts, where I was living. He somehow always managed to fit in a visit into his busy schedule, and he was always game to join me no matter where I was at or what I was doing. At some point, a number of years elapsed without seeing each other, but Danny picked up as if no time was lost. He was incredibly attuned to when you might need a friend or want an ear, and made himself available irrespective of distance or competing demands. This skill at cultivating friendships across the globe and then connecting his friends to each other is why he's been referred to as the Great Connector, or the internet before the internet was invented. Danny was a scholar, both professionally and in personal interactions. He was a seeker of truth and justice. He was profoundly insightful and loved a good debate. He was blunt and straightforward about his thoughts, irrespective of whether a topic was controversial, and didn't shy away from hearing a difficult truth. But as much as he challenged you intellectually, he would equally challenge you to grow emotionally and to be the best person you could be. After admitting that I was distracted from achieving a professional goal, he insisted that I send him a check made out to my least favorite political figure that he would send in if I didn't reach my next goal in time. Danny was equally courageous in expressing his emotions as he was with his ideas. He was the first to say, "I miss you," or to share his pain, or to seek comfort. He'd say, "I woke up grumpy and lonely and could use a chat with a friend right now," or to show his unbridled joy, he brimmed with excitement over his boys' achievement, whether learning to sing a song in Yiddish or their dancing antics. At first, I was taken aback by these shows of emotion from a grown man, but I came to understand that he took emotional risks that most people wouldn't dare. He had the courage to be vulnerable, and I believe this willingness to be vulnerable is what enabled him to forge connections and to find joy in his friendships. When friends speak of Danny as the great connector, these weren't superficial connections. He almost demanded intimacy. One friend described how Danny would never be content with a quick catch-up on the phone. He wanted to know what was really going on in your life. And right after Danny's passing, a friend described how Danny was just at his home, putting his kids to bed with him, a far more intimate activity than the average get-together between two men. This intimacy led to a deep love. One of Danny's girlfriends once told me that despite her past relationship experience, she never really knew what it felt like to be loved until she met Danny. I wasn't the least bit surprised. And I can't think of a greater gift one person can give to another. During the couple of years before Danny was murdered, Danny and I independently went through life's transitions. I was fortunate to have him as a source of support as I walked through uncertain times They say that tough times show you who your true friends are. Danny was one of the people to whom I grew closer during this time. Just as he was unafraid to share his pain and to be vulnerable, he was unafraid of my pain and treated my vulnerability with care. He saw my strengths and valued them, and he reminded me of them. He saw my struggles and lessened them with his company and friendship. One of my emails to him during this time said, "Hanging out tonight brought me joy, a feeling that has been hard to access lately." I also had the privilege of being in Danny's life as he confronted his own challenges. As they say, the true test of a person's character is how they respond to difficulty. Danny would share the details of a tough situation with stark honesty, and he wanted to find a fair solution. But then the conversation would often follow with a discussion about how he could respond in the most humane way possible. He said he wanted to choose actions that would make his sons proud. Amidst disappointment, he sought out a path of kindness and peace. He had a great capacity for taking responsibility for his mistakes and forgiving others' mistakes. He wanted to talk about cultivating a heart of loving kindness, particularly in light of our shared interest in Buddhist teachings. Danny also never lost sight of the gifts in his life. He expressed gratitude for a career that he loved and that allowed him to care for his family, and gratitude for his friends and family and for the communities he was a part of, and perhaps most of all, for his little wonder balls, the word he used to refer to his two sons. Danny's passing has left me bereft. I instinctively turn to my phone to call Danny when there's a piece of news in my life. I miss his famous bambizzle birthday wishes. A lot of people in these victim impact statements talk about these bambizzle birthday wishes. And his Facebook posts excitedly displaying his boys' art projects and soccer videos. I still feel the desire for him to weigh in with his advice when facing a decision. I miss his work trips, which enabled our visits. I miss the authenticity he brought to our friendship and the way he encouraged me to grow. I can think of no better way to love someone than to encourage their growth. I try to honor Danny by remembering what he said at the conclusion of one of his email messages, which now seems precedent. Quote, "Everything wonderful is also fragile. Love mightily while you can," unquote. I love and miss Danny. Real friends are a rare gift. With tears flowing from my eyes as I write this, the pain of his loss still cuts deep, a type of pain that time does not heal. And I feel profound sadness and anger that this dear friend was senselessly taken from me, from his boys, from his family, from his academic community, and from our shared community of friends. I never stop wishing that my friend were still here. Sincerely, Tamar Mensel. That is what I have for today, guys. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment. Hold on one second. Support the channel. Links are always in the description of this and every episode. You can send a donation via Venmo, buy me a coffee, or become a Patreon member and get access to content you won't get anywhere else. Thanks so much, Commissary Tuna. Commissary Tuna, funny. All right, I'll see you tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. for day 4 of Donna Adelson's trial. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow morning.
What a stitch you're in. You plotted a murder 'cause you wanted to raise your daughter's kid. Tallahassee is just a stop on the way to civilization. Miami is where all the fancy people are. The TV is about 5. You can't get away from that. Two-toe, tay-toe, hoo-ho, you know the guy you pay, and you can't get away from that. Oh, Donna, what a stitch you're in. You thought jail was just for the little people, but now you're sold blankets with the locked-up crew. You're a grandmother in lockdown, and your one-way ride to freedom you blew. What a stitch you're in. Your family are exiled from the social circles you swam in. We all know you never made that banana bread or offered to babysit for Dan, but you'll soon be making license plates and thinking about